Hello, welcome to SpreadingTruthMinistry.com on YouTube. I am reviewing The Preachers of LA Season 2, Episode 3, doing 2 reviews in one evening. Please forgive me for the last review. That one's really late, but this one is relatively soon, so I'm kind of happy I'm catching up. So anyway, it's been interesting thus far. We've learned a lot so far about the cast, so let's go into it, shall we? First of all, the episode begins with the Haddons. They decided that, his mother, Dietrich Haddon's mom, suggested that they go to counseling. And so she felt like that it's more of a proactive method, more than a reactive, which he made that statement, and I agree. Sometimes people go to counseling when it's trouble, you know what I mean, and now they need help and they're to the verge of it being over. But this is a way where they can kind of sort out whatever issues that they may be having or whatever conflicts may be going on. And the truth be told, if you're living in a household with somebody, you're not the same people. You're different individuals coming together with different backgrounds and experiences. So there's going to be conflict, and there's nothing wrong with conflict. Conflict is actually good because conflict causes you to get to know each other in a way. And if you have a person in your life that's rational, you know, it can be productive. But if you have a person that's not as rational, or if they're immature, it will be counterproductive, because they're going to, instead of learn from the conflict, they're going to use the conflict against you, and that shows that there is a little bit of immaturity or even some disorder of some kind if you're dealing with somebody that's going to constantly use issues and problems against you rather than use those issues and conflicts as stepping stones to the next level, and by my understanding that you're getting to know each other by your experiences, and that's a good thing and not necessarily a bad thing. And so I like the fact that his mother was wise enough to suggest that they should go to counseling. And so they did counseling, and he was like, I'm willing to do that, but I want to counsel with somebody that's outside the church. I'm in 100% agreement unless they are a professional counselor. That's their profession, and they're a godly person. So yes, I would strongly recommend, if you are a person that is, that you're in the church, you serve the Lord, you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, you're a believer, and you need a counselor, seek after a Christian counselor. Seek after a person that's a believer, that's a professional counseling. But yes, they need a professional, absolutely. So not just a church person. I mean, I'm not downplaying that there are some people that are wise, and they can give you wise counsel, but there's people that's their field, and they know marriage counseling, and they know what points to deal with and how to help you navigate through the marital system, you know what I mean, if you will, because they've studied it and they understand it. So I think it's wonderful. And what's interesting is the counselor that they use is actually Dr. Jamal Bryant's sister. We've seen her before. I don't know if you watch any reality shows, but she's actually, I think there was one show where he was used as as a counselor himself, and I think on a couple episodes he had his sister come in as a counselor as well. So yeah, she's a professional counselor, and I believe she's a doctor, so she counseled them, and I think she did a very good job at counseling them and helping them navigate again through their marriage, because like he said, he wants to be married for the rest of his life. Like, he doesn't want to get a divorce again. So if there's anything that he can learn or get or have a better understanding the next go around, so he can avoid some of the things that he got into the first time around. So I commend him for that. I mean, I really do commend him for the effort in that area. Next is Bishop Jones. While he was distributing water and other supplies to his members and maybe community members, or just people in the community in general, he was talking to Sister Loretta and basically telling her that he's going to have to go to Louisiana, to Lake Charles, Louisiana, to help a church who lost their pastor. And then they showed like a news clip of the situation that occurred with the pastor. Basically, he had died in the church. He was murdered, or basically shot down in their church. And they played a clip of the actual news broadcast regarding that situation. Next, so he was told he was going to go away, and for what purpose. Next was Pastor Jay. He was discussing next was Pastor Jay. His wife was discussing that she was going to be meeting with Dominique. She was going to be meeting with Dominique. I guess they're going to just meet to discuss, whatever. And also she they talked briefly about Justin. Remember last episode there was a young man or a man named Justin who was homeless and on drugs or alcohol. So he kind of discussed the fact that he was going to the hospital, like towards the end of the episode he went to the hospital, that he had went into the hospital and that he's going to have to, he was concerned about him and wanted to check in and etc. Next, Dominique, she meets with a friend, and so they were dishing the tea, if you will, as they said, and basically she was just filling her in on what was going on in her life, and she just felt good to be able to step out of the mommy, role and just really be a girlfriend, you know what I'm saying? So I can understand that, having kids. Sometimes you just want to just let your hair down and just be a woman, or be a sister, or be a friend to somebody instead of being a mom. Next was Pastor Jones. He's en route to Louisiana, and he's kind of discussing exactly what the situation is and just expressing his compassion about what was going on with the church there, and his concerns. He wanted to keep the doors of the church open. We know that the pastor was gunned down, and obviously how that is infecting, that did affect the people, the congregants, how it affected the community, how it is obviously affected the family. This was done in the church in front of kids, in front of grandkids, in front of, in front of everybody, and how that's scared people away. It's scary. And he felt that he should call a meeting of pastors to come so that they can counsel, establish some type of a session where they can have a meeting of the minds to decide on what's best for this particular church. He admitted that they're not of the same denomination. He heard about it. I don't know if he reached out to them. I don't know if they reached out to him, but he decided to help. And so that's what he was there to do. He was there to help in hopes that, they can have some kind of resolve. He wanted to, like I said, encourage them and help to strengthen them and to get them through this hard time. I can't even imagine what that would be like, but I do applaud him for his effort and wanting to go and assist them, especially when he's admitting that they have absolutely no connection at all whatsoever. So, kudos to him. Pastor Jay. Next, he talks about, before taking Justin to rehab, he wanted to kind of clean him up, so he wanted to give him a haircut, he wanted to give him clean clothes, and as he was doing these things for him, he began to discuss some more personal things about Justin's life, and Justin began to share how he believes his father hates him. So I guess his father's alive. He discussed the last episode that his mother was deceased, so his father's alive. He felt his father hates him, and he believes that he doesn't understand why when he was little, I guess, he took them places, they shared time with each other, but for whatever the reason, there's like a disconnect. And so, he just believed that, Pastor Jay just believed that Justin's going to experience change, and he just believed that everything is going to work the way it's supposed to work with Justin. So he's constantly going to be in prayer with him and support him through this process. Next, Lady Hayslip, Lady Christine, and Sister Dominique meet to discuss the issue between Pastor Jay and Dietrich. And so they did share, and I like the approach that Lady J took. She wasn't defensive. She wasn't trying to defend her husband. Because it could have went left, you know what I mean? If she would have handled it like more of an aggressive way or more of an offensive way, like she's trying to protect her husband, not trying to, have a level of understanding, it definitely would have went left. But I think the way that she shared the fact that she had a child outside of wedlock too, and the fact that the child wasn't even Pastor Jay's child, and that let Sister Dominique know that no, we weren't being judgmental because we have a similar story. So by giving her that insight, it let her know that no, we're not trying to throw stones. We just need to, there was a miscommunication. You know what I'm saying? There was a misunderstanding. We're here to support you. So I felt like that was good. And, and one of the things that Sister Dominique said, which to me resonated when she said that women usually come to a situation like that to have an understanding. They want to understand what's going on. Most people with level heads, you know what I'm saying, that, they got the right mind, that they want to come to a situation. I want to understand why you did what you did before whatever happens. We just want that understanding. But she said with men, they just want to get their point across. And it's true. That's a very true, very observant statement. And again, I feel like throughout this whole, even last season, that Dominique has showed that she has wisdom, and I like that about her, that she does have wisdom. And even the way she handles Minister Haddon, I feel like that she knows who she's dealing with, and she's wise. And so I appreciate that about her. So it was great, and they both were in agreement that, you know, the men need to talk, and they're going to definitely encourage that. They're going to do everything in their power to make that happen. Bishop Jones at Lake Charles, Louisiana, he meets with Lady Harris, which is the widow of the pastor that was slain in the congregation, to discuss the specifics regarding what happened. And so she reveals the horrific details in regards to how he was killed in the sanctuary by a member, and he was gunned down. People thought it was a skit, like, you know, they thought that that they were playing around. The guy came in with a shotgun. It was aiming it at him, and as he was moving, like, towards, she said, as he was moving towards her, he shot him one time, and then she said he went to him as when he was down on the ground and shot him again. And this was done in front of their grandkids. This was done in front of the congregants, in front of his kids, and everything. And so I can't even imagine. Like I said, I can't even imagine how that feels. Like, of course the members are going to be discouraged. Of course they're going to leave the church. Of course the kids are going to be distraught. Of course they're going to blame God. Of course they're going to, you know what I'm saying? You know, the church was experiencing some financial struggle, and they were in danger of losing their building. So as a result, everything was just, you know. But there's more to it, you know, and that's what I guess Bishop Jones was trying to get down to the bottom of it before he stepped in to help. He just wanted all the details so that he can assess the situation and then go from there. Next, the Haddons meet with Dr. Davis, which I said is Dr. Jamal's sister, and she was counseling them and just discussing some of the issues they were having. The nanny. You know, Dominic didn't want a nanny, Dietrich did, because Dietrich is constantly on the go, and sometimes he wants his wife to be with him, which is understandable. So by freeing her up, you know, their relationship could stay, you know, as cohesive as it can be. You know what I mean? So I can understand his point of wanting a nanny, and most women would want that. I mean, but she was saying that she didn't want a full-time nanny because she didn't want the kids to start looking towards the nanny and having a disconnect with their real parents. So I can understand her concerns as well. So, and also they had issues with parenting. Like, she felt like he could be more hands-on, like he could change more diapers, he can give them baths and things like that. And so he's like, whoa, that's women's work. Like, but you know what? Honestly, most men that's never seen it done feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the counselor brought it out. The marriage counselor brought it out. She was like, you know what? If he didn't see that growing up, then it won't be natural for him. You know what I'm saying? So she pointed that out, and the same thing she pointed out to Dominique, Dominique expressed the fact that her daddy wasn't there. Maybe that she's trying to push it on him because she wants to see it with her daughters because she didn't have that growing up. So, you know, we bring our own individual stuff to situations and circumstances, and that's what she was pointing out to the both of them. But they can meet in the middle. That's, you know, we can meet in the middle, and you know, and see where it goes. And so that's what she was trying to encourage them to do. Instead of, you know, and you know what, it's funny because he took it personal when she was like he could do more. Like I said, he could be so combative and so defensive, and he did a little bit, and then she was just trying to share with him, like, you know what, you all can meet each other halfway. And so, you know, they talked about gender roles too, you know, and what was interesting to me, Dominic made the statement in her confessional that being that his music is so contemporary, like he's so out of the box, but yet he's so traditional when it comes to relationship, and as most men in the church are, I'll say most, because there are some men that are not, but most men are, I don't know, I feel like they just are they misconstrue the scriptures. I think that just gets, I don't know, but most men are traditional, and that's really unfortunate because, you know, it does weigh on a relationship when you're not flexible. In a relationship, you should be flexible. Yes, the man is the head of the household. Yes, a wife should submit to her husband. But a husband should submit to his wife as well. The Bible says to submit to one another. The Bible says that a man should love his wife as Christ loved the church. So that's a huge responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Is to give his life for the church. Like, that's humongous. Like, so it's just a lot we can learn. Let's just learn each other. Let's learn each other, love each other, and let's just get along. Amen. Let's work together in this world, in this life, and in relationships. So I think she helped them a lot in trying to meet in the middle. And so finding the middle ground, trying to come together, that was great. And so it's so funny, towards the end she tells them to move closer to each other, whatever, and kind of hug or whatever, and then he starts chanting the Buddha chant, and she was like, "No, you ain't." He is so silly. You know, I know a lot of people don't like Dietrich, but I do like Dietrich. When he's up, and when he's down and showing out, he's showing out. Like he's an extremist. There's no middle ground for him. He's either real happy or he's really upset. But I do like it when he's happy. He's funny to me. I like him. So far, what I've seen. Next is Bishop Jones. He meets with the other pastors, and they start counseling him as to, well, they begin to give their opinion or their assessment on the situation. And so they do talk about that the situation is much deeper than, it's not a stranger that shot him. There's actually a situation of adultery, or infidelity was the word that was used, but it was an adulterous situation that was going on. The church were having financial problems as a result, which means that it was said that the pastor that died, that he was in different situations with different women in the church, and because of the rumors, that people started leaving. So people started leaving way before this incident occurred, and therefore they started having financial problems. They have a very big building. I mean, based on how the cameras viewed it, they have a very, very big edifice. So I would imagine that it would require quite a bit of money to maintain that building and to have all of what you need for it to operate. So they begin to have financial problems, and they felt like the wife, which would be I believe her name was Lady, I want to say Lady Harris, Lady Harris, they said that they felt like that she was in denial, and they felt like she was trying to protect his legacy, and they're like, well, do you think that she knew about the infidelity? And they said that it would be hard for her not to know, or because so many people have heard about it that it basically motivates them to leave, so I'm sure she heard about it, but and a lot of women do that. They protect their men even if it's to a fault, you know what I mean? Like, they want to cover them, they want to protect them, they don't want, and that's understandable, but at the same time, it puts you in a situation, you know what I'm saying? You can't cover people's sin like that, like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, like I said, there has to be some level of accountability. I love you, but you gotta be accountable. You can't keep doing this, and if you do, then you're on your own, so there has to be a level of accountability. So basically they felt like, based on the situation, based on how things are going, the people are not going to, the people won't be restored back. Things won't be back to normal until there's a shift. First of all, there has going to have to be a new pastor reinstated, even if it's temporary, because the family needs to heal. They need to take a step off the pulpit. They need to take a few moments to themselves, and they need to get themselves together because they experienced something really, really, really traumatic. And so they felt like that they will suggest that another pastor steps up. And they suggested Pastor Wise, because I think he was the first one that was kind of sent to help them in any way that they needed help. So I think that by him being there and supporting them through this process, that he would be the ideal candidate to kind of assume the role as the leader until further notice. And so just to help them move forward, to get the building back on track, to get the members back on track, so that their confidence can be restored back in God and in faith and in the church, because the wife didn't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Why should she have to be negatively impacted because her husband did something, allegedly her husband did something wrong, and if he's deceased, he can't even speak for himself. So it's really sad, and that situation is really heartbroken, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Loretta. Next, Loretta, she has like this meet with the ladies at JJ Bistro's, which is her business, which is her restaurant, and they're, all the ladies, she wanted to cook. She felt like cooking brings women together, bring people together, so she decided to invite the women so they can come and cook. And so each of the women, they have their dish, and so they explain what it is that they're preparing for their little outing or whatever, their little fellowship together. And they begin to discuss, I guess, the crusade, and they wanted to entitle the crusade Preach LA. And so they go through all of it, and it's so funny because all the women had their specialty dishes that they're going to prepare, and Sister Dominique, Lady Dominique said, and she asked her, well, what are you preparing? She said, oh, just good old spaghetti. And they're all looking like, oh, okay. And then she, like in her side comment, she's like, well, Dietrich didn't marry me for my cooking. I thought that was funny. Next, Loretta, she discussed the dinner date / scene with the Gibsons, and just basically expressing her disappointment in how things happened and went down, and and she was just like, she don't want the Gibsons to be a part of it, what they're trying to do, because they're negative, this, that, and the third, whatever, and the women are just listening and whatever. But that's really unfortunate, like I said, because it's going to affect, like I said, it's going to affect the crusade if it's not nipped in the bud, if they don't deal with the problem. It's going to impact the greater, objective, which is to reach out to people. If the ministry can't get themselves together, then how in the world, or those that are representing the ministry, if we can't get ourselves together, then how in the world can we reach a community with all kinds of problems when we got our stuff together? So yeah, they're going to have to resolve that. They got to get that together before they can even try to reach out to anybody anywhere. They got to get that together, because this here, to me, is not even worth the effort that they put into it, to be truthful. It's really not. Next, Bishop Jones meets with the family just so that he can discuss the next step to help them heal. You know what I'm saying? To help them, give them some hope to move forward. And so he also told them that he's considering buying the church because of their financial woes. They're just in a position where they can't handle it. So if he assumes the financial responsibility, and get them on their feet, and maybe they will become a part of his organization, and then he can help them to get on their feet and to continue on the path, or get back on the path, so that they may progress as a body of believers. And so the family begins to pour out their feelings of gratitude. I mean, especially the daughter. I mean, she was just like pouring out her heart, saying, we thank you so much. The bishop is coming to help us. And I'm assuming nobody else came to help. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming that nobody tried to reach out. So they're like extremely grateful, to see him there, and to the fact that he's considering even purchasing that church and stuff like that. That they want the church, they want the work to continue. They don't want the work to stop. And so the fact that he's coming in such a way that he's coming in, they're just very grateful, and so the daughter got really overwhelmed with emotion, and she stepped out, and he went to her and kind of just loved on her and just prayed her through, that God would send her comfort and peace during this time. But, kudos to Bishop Jones. I mean, I've seen people make some little sly comments about him doing all that stuff that he's doing, but in truth, he didn't have to do that. He doesn't. I mean, he makes enough money. Bishop Jones doesn't have to do what he's doing. I mean, he's successful. He's been successful. Even before he started his ministry, it was told that he had money, that he had a couple million, that he was a millionaire. So Bishop Jones, I mean, you can say what you want to say about him, and I know people have heard stuff or whatever, but he's a businessman, and he's successful. So yeah, he may have his issues like everybody else, but he doesn't have to do what he's doing for these people. He doesn't have to do it. So I commend him for taking the time out of his schedule to come, and not only just to be there, because some people would just raise an offering and keep it moving. I mean, let's just keep it 100. If they would have done that. Like, some people would just go to be nosy, okay, to find out what's going on, okay, but not really make no headway. So the fact that he not only came, not only did he counsel, he found them a pastor, he's giving them support, he's giving them financial support, he's purchasing a building, okay, that they were about to lose. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to do any of that. He has the resources where he could easily start a ministry somewhere under his umbrella. I'm sure. He has the reputation to do it, no problem. So the fact that he came to help them in the way that he did, I commend him and his staff. And, you could see, even the man that took over the role as pastor, you could see that he was, he really cared for these people. You know what I'm saying? He was crying along with the family. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so again, I mean, I like seeing positive things. It's my heart bleeds for the people for losing their pastor and dad and husband. That's horrible in the way in which they did. I did hear about the incident might have been online or something. I don't know exactly where I heard it from, but I did hear about it, and it saddened me to hear that something like that happened in the church. But again, you can't control what people do, you can't. Nor should you blame God, because God gave us free will. Why do we always blame God for all the bad stuff that happens when we know that there's an enemy that works in between the scenes as well? It's beyond me. So it's not God's fault. God gave us free will. We decide what we're going to do. As far as what made that man take that pastor's life, even if the pastor was sleeping with his wife, even if that is the case, allegedly, if that is the case, that man still had no right to take his life. Okay, now if he wanted to confront him, get the congregation together to vote him down as a pastor, he had every right to do that. There was, no law legally speaking that could take him to jail or anything for doing it. And if he wanted to leave his wife and move forward with his life, he had the right to do that. But the right to take his life, no, he did not have that right to do that. Being mad, yes, I can understand even giving them a beat down. I can even understand that. But to take his life, no, that to me is never the right thing to do, ever. So, but again, my prayers are for him that he will get the deliverance that he needs, and the healing that he needs, so that he can move forward. But my heart bleeds for those people. So, that pretty much concludes episode 3. I really don't have any major things to say. I mean, I just kind of dealt with, like I said, each and every thing that was shown. I think we're going to see more from Pastor McClendon, hopefully. I'm not sure. Or we may see more from the other pastor as well. I think we're definitely going to see more from him the next episode. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to view me. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like this video and or make a comment. And I'll see you next time. Shalom.